Hello. Thank you so much for joining this episode of the Enneagram and Marriage podcast, where we get to talk to Chris and Jenny Graebe about how to slow down and find healthy rhythms for your home. They've already shared with the world their book on finding healthy rhythms of us. And we do talk about marriage today, too, of course. But today they're extending our conversation. We've been talking lately about how to redeem our time with Jordan Rayner recently. And now we're talking on my Substack this last Friday about how to get those slow rhythms. Slow food is a whole movement now. Slow walking, slow dating. We had that with our anniversary this past Friday night. So healing. And then also now we're adding in slow family rhythms. So I'm just asking lots of bold questions like, hey, how do you do this? Like, how do you pull back? What are you guys' angle for this? I love that Chris and Jenny are a 7-1 couple, a little bit opposite from us. 7-wing 8, 1-wing 9, but similar enough. And probably to you too, that there's some similar threads to you. And it's really fun to hear how other couples do this and do this well. Guys, Chris and Jenny are successful. They have 5 kids. They're still very deeply in love after almost 20 years of marriage. This is a couple you want to lean into and learn from. And I have all their info in the show notes. And before I bring them on, I want to share one piece of news with you. And that is that we have a very special Enneagram and Marriage announcement tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. It may or may not have something to do with my book, but I'm so excited to share it with you. If you're in my collective, you already know. And I'm excited to just bring a new piece to our learning together. So grateful. And I will look forward to sharing that about something from my past to bringing it to you. So super excited. All right. So let's go ahead and talk to Chris and Jenny about how to slow our rhythms in marriage together now. Chris and Jenny, we are so happy to have you on the Enneagram and Marriage Pod. Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
It's going to be fun.
Yes. Oh my gosh. We were already getting started on talking about your beautiful town in Franklin, Tennessee. We're so excited to talk about the rhythms you're going to help our audience with as we're all in that space of needing time to create right now. Just another fresh palette to renew and recharge. So, very excited. Will you tell us a little about yourselves for those who don't know you yet?
Sure. You want to go first?
Oh man. Well, if you're listening on audio, the good looking one's a pretty lady over here.
She's so
We've
beautiful.
let's see. The cliff notes is we're getting ready to hit 20 years.
20 years.
20 years like in a couple weeks. So we've got 5 kids. Yeah, you heard that correctly. 5.
Right.
Often we'll tell people we have 5 and they'll go, wow. And we say the same thing.
Yeah.
Wow. How do we do this? We
Mm.
crazy about Jesus, and we've written a couple books and getting just kind of tell a little bit of the story of some of the stuff we've learned through the years. So we're that's us in a nutshell. Is there anything I missed?
No, I think that's
All
great.
right.
Yes. And I love that you guys have such a fun history together. Also, the number 5 really stands out for you guys with your
guess it
book, which
does.
we'll talk about that with all the months
Yeah.
and everything. So many funny stories inside your book, too. But tell us a little bit about your Enneagram types. I know one of you took the long way to finding your type, one of you took the short way.
Yeah. So I was introduced to the Enneagram in college. And I will never forget the first time I heard about it from my professor. And I heard all the types and, of course, knew immediately which one Chris was.
Oh.
It was so obvious what he was. I had no idea which one I was, but I knew immediately that he was a 7. So I came home and told him all about it. And of course, he took the test and read the material and he knew, of course, there was only one answer for him. He was definitely a 7. But I took longer. I kind of played around with each number before I landed on one. But yeah, I'm a 1 with a 9 wing. Chris is a 7 with an 8 wing, for sure.
For sure.
Yes.
100%. Yeah.
Yes.
That is so fun for our audience to hear. And they get a different taste of my hubby and I because we're a 7-1 pairing also, but I'm 7-wing 6, very different from 7-wing 8. And then he is 1-wing 2. So
funny.
it is so fun to have the opposite a little bit for them to hear. How does this show up? Well, definitely with more kids. I love it. We have 3, you guys have 5. Of course, this is all nuance, but like seriously, how beautiful. And I just love that you got to hear about it in college. It's fun when we can nuance and learn that. So very cool for your college. Was it Belmont College?
It was Belmont University. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a college dropout, so
So she taught you.
I tell our kids to be like your mom when you grow up.
My gosh. Well, sevens often, honestly, we're both
Exactly.
doing jobs where we don't necessarily need some of the college as long as we continue to learn. So are
For
you big
sure.
with exploring like a lot of sevens, Chris, and you learn with kinetic energy?
Oh man, my number one statement is it's all good. We're just gonna let's go get this. Let's go have some fun.
Yeah.
Let's just try it.
Yeah.
I just naive enough to just try everything and go, yeah, we can do that. Absolutely, we can do
There's
that.
not a lot that scares him. Not a lot. So
Right.
he's a
Oh,
big risk taker.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. That's why I was saying like the 7 wing 6, I mitigate risk a lot more. I'm always factoring for risk. But 7 wing 8 is much more like, okay, no. And I almost see it quite honestly, I do see 7 wing 8 more in males. The foraging.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating. But I love that you bring the 1 wing 9 because you both are idealists. So you've reached
Yeah.
really high. Sevens and 1 are very idealistic. We want to stay at the top of the Abraham Maslow mountain. And we have to learn, okay, we have to rest. We have to get practical too, just like everybody else. So help
Definitely.
us to know throughout this whole interview, you're going to help us to make some of the practical rhythms you've learned, as much as we want to ascend to the top all the time. But before we get there, I thought it was really interesting about your meeting story. And I think it could help us to understand how faith plays a role in your life too. Because from what I understand, you guys met even in a space of faith. Is that right?
Yes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was the old
Hmm.
turn around and greet your neighbor at church. Like the whole like, hey, turn
Awesome.
around before you sit down and say hi to somebody. And then right behind me there was Jenny. She was sitting right there. There's a halo glow, just
Oh
angel. Oh, and next thing you know, we got married the next week. But no, just
my
kidding.
God.
So yeah, she was sitting right behind me and it was like, wow, it was really, really cool. We both had just had a pretty
Yeah.
powerful transformation periods in our life. And so it was
Yeah.
like we just met each other at just that right time. And so we
Yeah.
were friends for 8 months. We just were just in friend groups and nobody was
Mm,
trying to date anybody. And then it just had to happen. It was like we
yeah.
gotta do this. And then you talk about the fives. We dated 5 months and we were
Yeah.
engaged 5 months. And then 5 months later we got pregnant with our first kid. So
Yes.
Right.
Surprise.
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 It's amazing. And then I'm like, and you had 5 kids. Then you have 5 tips for us. And I'm just
I
like, I love
know.
it.
I
I
know.
know.
Not
Just
none of it was planned.
none of it.
Just
Yeah.
it
Oh,
keeps
but God
happening like
had
that.
it. Yes.
Yeah.
And
For
that's
Yeah.
sure.
beautiful that you can share with us that faithfulness of like, this is foundation. If we were to think of today's chat as a mountain in that way of ascending up together, you're letting us know the foundation of your story is faith. And what's one rhythm, if you don't mind sharing? I know we're hoping people also grab your book, but just that keeps you grounded in your faith amidst having 5 kids and being so busy.
Well, I would say that this kind of set of rhythms, these 5 rhythms,
Mm.
that is probably the best foundation that we have found to carry us
Mm.
because it allows us to stay on the same page, right? When you have so many kids and all their activities and they're growing and changing constantly, we're growing and changing
Yeah.
in each and every season. It's really good to have together and said towards the beginning of our relationship, okay, here's what's most important to us. This is
Mm.
what we want to base our life on. And
Mm.
that will carry us in each and every season. So I think it's really good to have the 5 set of those rhythms. I would say
Mm.
that
Yeah.
of the 5 rhythms, for me, and I would love to hear what you say as well. I think the one that I think it probably changes
Yeah.
in each and every season depending
Yes.
on where we are and what I need most. But in this season, the
Mm.
one that grounds me the most and keeps me centered in my faith with the Lord, centered on my relationship with Chris, is the rhythm of staying in awe. It's
Mm.
probably become my
Yeah.
favorite rhythm of the 5, at least in this season, because there is just so much power I have found in being able to cultivate eyes to see those moments in
Mm.
front of us
Mm.
where I feel that prompting to put down my task, to put down my to-do list, to leave perfectionism behind and
Yes.
really step into that moment and be
Oh, wow.
present with my family, with my husband. And there
Mm.
is so much joy to be found
Yeah.
there, but it is
Yeah.
not instinctive to me. I really have to practice that as a habit so that I can step into those moments
Mhm.
rather than stay focused on whatever task I'm doing. I really have to talk myself into saying yes and being
Yeah.
present to those moments available to me and just kind
Mhm.
of revel in the true gift that it is to be married and to have a family and to be alive right now. There's
Wow.
just so much power in that.
Wow. Mm.
There you go. There's the one Enneagram
Yes.
tapping
You
into
do.
awe. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, that's your glow together. We talk a lot about that. You can see behind me, I have your Enneagram glow, and like I can see Chris in your answer, Jenny. I love that. I can see the way
Mm.
that God is in your answer, but also the way your husband's delight for wonder, for curiosity has helped to bring that out in you. And now that's your
Definitely.
favorite thing, which is so
Hmm.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He definitely has taught me that for sure.
well, it was pretty neat how that rhythm we had kind of landed when we were crafting this book and looking across the different rhythms of our marriage and what had, made up this many years of parenting and marriage. And it was like, what are these rhythms? And we'd had the first four pretty much nailed down, but that fifth one was like, what is the fifth one? We couldn't quite put it. And then
Yeah.
when we landed on it, it's like, oh, it's awe. Like
Yeah.
when if
Mm.
we don't have awe in our life and seek after awe, there's just you can just tell there's a void and something's missing. So it was really neat to kind of see that
Mm.
final one drop,
Yeah.
and bring kind of a closure to all five of the rhythms.
Yeah, that is interesting and how it became foundational. And you realize without this one sort of encompasses everything as our wonder at our creator. And I know I have to spend time like that in the mornings, usually on a walk just before everything. Even if there's the lament, also, there's a time of just praising God for that wonder. And you're just letting us know this is how God is part of it. And there'll be other places and spaces we can learn from you on that. But you're saying God is foundational when we stop to take ownership of like, whoa, just every breath is a gift. All of these things in our lives, like you said, you just look over at your five kids, you're like, how did this happen?
Yeah.
So thank you for reminding everybody of that because they can get very lost in their busyness. Now we'll hopefully tune into a bit of relational care because as we move up from that space of caring with taking some time with God, we come into the space of relationships. But even on our way to relationships, sometimes we have to make sure we're safe, we're well fed. What do you have a rhythm that goes with that where we're just laying out safety and everyday planning so that people can not be surprised when there's something they need to do, like, oh, there's a bill to pay, or who's going to take so and so to the dentist, those kinds of things.
Yeah, I think one of the ways we kind of prepare for the world that's ahead of us is we have a rhythm. It's called the rhythm slowing down.
Mm,
So one of the things we will do to make sure we're on the same page is we're going to slow down. Like we're going to slow down. We're going to spend time with each other. We're going to spend time with God. We're going to get together and just make sure
mm,
we're connected. And then
yeah,
in the slowing down, there's the practical that happens as well.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
let's look at what's coming. We're not surprised about anything. We can look and go, okay, today's a busy day. And there's going to be some divide and conquer. But I think when
Mm,
we intentionally slow down
yeah,
together as a
yeah,
couple
yeah.
and also as a family, like it's not just us slowing down, but like trying
Mm,
to practice that rhythm with our children as well to go, hey,
yeah,
tonight we're gonna do dinner at home. We're gonna play
yeah.
a game together. Everyone, I know you want to go do this. I know you want to go do that. We're just gonna slow down a little bit, kind of
Mm,
reflect on what's happened today. Let's reflect on what's happened this week. And I
I
think
love that.
when you slow and you breathe, it gives you the margin and the freedom to go,
Mm,
okay, this isn't as scary as my mind had made it. We're going to be able to do these things. This is the work that we want to do. Here's the things we want to
yeah,
save for. Here's the trips we want to take. And here's
yeah.
how we can get all this done. And
Mm,
slowing helps us figure that out. I don't know. Do you?
Yeah,
mm.
for sure. That's great.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I think many of us thought, you'll say calendar, you'll say, and you have things, you have rhythms that are healthy in place for that. But what you're really telling us is underlying that after awe is a sense of like, let's not overdo our pace here. We'll never make
Yeah.
it on the little, we'll forget things. Now, you're a one, Jenny, so you want
Mhm.
them to be done well. And I'm sure Chris has picked that up from you too. Like, he also wants things done well. So it's going to take time, and I love how you bring your children into that too. And then I know you have also written an entire book on rhythms for couples, which we love here. But tell us a little bit about, like, once you're settled in your rhythms for schedule, you're settled with wonder. How do you invite in, there's a lot of challenges couples face. How can they learn from rhythms of home? What are you reminding us for as couples?
Yeah, I think that there's a space in the back of both of these books, the one for marriage and the one for home, that
Mhm.
gives space for couples to walk through some of these really important questions that you can ask each other to pull out the
Mhm.
rhythms that are most important for you as a couple, and that
Mhm.
might look drastically
Yeah.
different from what they are for us. So
Yeah.
we've kind of based this book around the five rhythms that have come to the surface for us, that we have
Mhm.
looked across the landscape of the couples in our life that we admire most and kind of found those
Mm.
five common denominators that are
Mm.
true of them that we want to
Yeah.
pursue. But there's also a space in the back where you can sit down as a couple and you can ask those important questions to kind of pull to the surface. Okay, what are those things that are most valuable to us? Are they the same or are they different? Do we have different visions for where we're headed? Because that can cause a lot of friction. So it's really helpful for couples to get in rhythm. So what we say, like,
Mhm.
instead of where are the areas that we're out of rhythm, how can we
Yeah.
get in rhythm and on the same page so that we're headed the same place? We have the same
Yeah.
vision and we know what we're working towards together as a couple and as a family.
Mm.
Yeah, totally agree. And
Love
one of the
that.
other rhythms we talk about a lot that I think helps set the tones so many ways is the rhythm of speaking life. We truly believe that there is power in tongue. Words have the power to bring
Mm.
life or death. And
Yes.
so
Yes.
if we're constantly speaking life, speaking up to each other, especially with her and I, when we're
Yes.
alone, when
Mhm.
we're in front of the kids, and then speaking life to the kids as well, there's a trust factor that unintentionally happens where you're just like, oh, okay, everybody here knows that
Mhm.
everyone's for each other, even if we're having a bad day or whatever, because the amount of money we've put in the bank from a
Mm.
credits perspective of like speaking life and
Yes.
building each other up, it really does help, and it helps really like so you can speak life and then ultimately to kind of speak to like practicality. What are we going to do? But using our words to lift each other up is key foundational piece for us as well.
I love that. So you're reminded that so many people don't do that, and not in a mean way to each other. They just aren't intentional with it. And you're saying if you're really life giving with your words, and I love that you have in the back some ways, because like you said, you have some different values from some of the other couples who
Yeah.
maybe, and you guys bring vision out for couples. So all of this, I imagine, helps us to develop what is our vision, as a family, because you guys are really good with legacy too, which I think is probably, something you both love. But I see it a lot in my type 1 husband, that he loves talking about legacy. So how does that, also, would you say, help a couple with their big, because we've already done a little bit of like micro here, but how does that help them to go the distance together when they do start asking these questions?
Well, I think it goes back, obviously as a seven, I'm a big vision guy,
Yeah.
right? But
Mhm.
Jenny's great because you're talking about, she's very nostalgic. And so she's been very intentional for us to go like, okay, what are the traditions that our family has? Like, what are the things that we want to look back on, or we want our kids to look back on and go, man,
Mhm.
we did this every single year, or we did this in our marriage. This is part of our culture, part of our DNA. This is who we are. And so, from a bigger picture perspective, it's kind of fun because like she's been like more like stake in the ground. Like we're building traditions. And I'm
I
like, I'm
love
a
that.
seven. So I'm like, it's cool. Like, what are we doing right now? Like,
Yeah.
eh,
Yeah.
but
We did it
I've
once or twice, that's good, and she's like,
right,
"No."
right. Like,
Yes.
what, we gotta do it the same way again? Like, wait, can we not? But all that to say, it's been really good for me because I understand and see how powerful that is, and there's something that's being crafted for our children and potentially our children's children, right? So that
Yeah.
is something in us and something she's been really great at to help me is look, this is important and let's plan around it, and then I can add some fun flavor in the mix of it all as well along the way.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so cool. And you're using the word rhythm, not just like routine. You're letting us know, and that's also part of, I think, where you've landed as a 1-7 is like we've learned that routines are great for some people, but not everyone. So a rhythm helps us to create traditions and build our legacy with some flexibility for letting God jump in, and also letting Chris jump in with ideas sometimes too.
Yes. I think something that's been helpful for us in kind of noticing and naming what are those moments we want to create into, like, turn into traditions.
Yeah.
I think Chris, as a seven, he's really good at noticing the moments in our life. He calls them "this is it" moments, and it's where,
Mm.
like, you're not planning for it, or maybe you did plan something, but at some moment you look up and either you're snuggled up with all your kids, in the tent, and you're reading a story, whatever it is that causes this rush of awe and joy in you. And
Mhm.
we will catch each other's eye. And I know what he's about to say every time because it's
Oh
always the same. He says,
my gosh.
"This is it.
Yeah.
This is it right here. It doesn't get any better than this."
Oh,
And I think what we found is there
beautiful.
were several moments that kept happening where it
Mhm.
would cause that reaction out of us to stop and
Wow.
say, okay, this is it right here. It doesn't get any
Wow.
better than this. And then we had this aha moment where we realized, okay, what if we intentionally pursued these activities in our
Mhm.
weekly, monthly life as a family? For us, a lot
Mm.
of times it was like gathering around the fire with our kids. So we're like,
Yeah.
could we put a fire pit in the backyard? And could we do this regularly instead of just wishing that these moments would happen more? Like, what if we were
Mhm.
intentional to make them happen and to prioritize them in our life so that we can establish these rhythms for our kids so that when they look back on their time in our home, they are able to have that list of "this is it" moments. Like my
Yeah.
family would always gather around the fire and tell stories, or every
Yeah.
Saturday I woke up to the smell of pancakes and bacon, my dad at the stove.
Mm.
What are those moments, and how can we be intentional to make them become rhythms in our life?
Mm.
Yeah, and I think what I want people to hear is the "this is it" moments are really just in the midst of what could be perceived as the mundane, right? Just like this, the
Mm.
simple, the slow,
Yeah.
but it's like
Ordinary.
the
Yeah.
ordinary. Yeah, it's probably a better word for it because
Yeah.
we always think like, oh, well, we got to craft these memories. We got to go on this big
Mhm.
mountain and we have to go
Yes.
to Disney World or whatever. And it's like,
Yeah.
and there's all this pressure, and
Yes.
it's not,
Yeah.
because the
Yeah.
best parts when you look up and go, we're all around the table, we're all just
Ooh.
Together.
hitting a volleyball in the backyard, and like we're on
Yeah.
a hike, and you're like, this is it.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm.
especially from a seven, right? Who's
Yeah.
always future focused, always
Right.
trying to like, what's around the corner? It's like, if you
Right.
could be present in that moment and just go like, there will be a day that
Yeah.
I will want to be back right here. So can I try and bottle that moment
Yeah.
right now and
Mm.
go, I won't long or worry that I missed it when it's
Yeah.
20 years from now and it's gone and all the kids are gone
Mm.
and it's quiet, and
Mm.
but if we can step in and go, this is it, then we don't have to miss it, and we can enjoy it right there in that moment.
Mm, yeah, that's beautiful. And you've really named it when you said, hey, sevens, and we're going to add threes, eights. Anyone else with a lot of energy can really be so future focused that they can say, that we can say, I want the ideal for what it could be. And you're saying this is it.
Mhm.
And, but each family will find that a little differently. So for you guys out there with us listening, go with your spouse and take some time to walk through to see what are those things that you've realized, maybe looked over like, no, this is this small thing that we were here saving up money for this big thing, but this little rhythm and tradition we can have every week. I also think that's helpful for those couples who many of our listeners are at church regularly, serving in church, and you guys are giving permission to find a wonder and awe with God at home. You're giving a reminder that slowed down living has its perks and that we're allowed to do that. And I do think there's a sense of, even amidst those who aren't churched, there's a sense of like we're in a type three culture of like go, go, go. So it's very healthy that you guys are saying slow down. And I wonder, once you do that, even for kids, like I think it'd be fun for us to hear, like, how do you do that sometimes as a couple so that you two just find yourselves like in a this is it moment? Is it like, oh, we do our date night each week, or we try to find a nighttime ritual? Anything that you've kind of noticed helps you two to find your moments?
Well, there are several that we do, but one of my favorites is that every summer we take a trip with the kids, and then we also try and carve out some kind of trip together, just the two of us. Because
Mm.
everybody who's taken their kids on a trip knows that A trip with kids is a trip. It's not a vacation.
Right.
You're
Mhm.
working as a couple to make
True.
those memories, to put in the work, put
Yeah.
in the time,
Oh,
and it's
that's
wonderful.
true. Yeah.
But at the end of it, we're always like, I need a vacation. I need a
Right.
Yeah.
vacation from this
Yeah.
vacation. We
Yeah.
need some time to just go and relax and be together and remember how much we enjoy
Yeah.
each other.
I
And
love
I think
that.
it's good for our kids to see that we carve out that time and that that is a priority for us as well. And we always come
Mhm.
back better humans, better parents,
Yeah.
better couple
Oh.
because we've carved out that time together. So that's one of my
Mhm.
favorites.
Yeah, I would totally agree. I also think sometimes, and all depends on the couple, but I think people, depending on where they are in their marriage, will opt for more kid trips
Yeah.
because it's easier. It's
It's
easier.
safer.
It's safer
Yeah.
because if you're like, oh, we're not in a great place from a spouse
Mm.
perspective. If we go
Yeah.
away, what is it going to be? Is it going to be this or that? But I think, and then what happens is years and years and years of like, yeah, we're going to this vacation, and I'll have friends. I'm like,
Yeah.
but when was the last time just the two of you got away? Like you have to
Mm.
do that,
Yeah.
and they have to be honest with themselves of why they're avoiding it or whatever. But it is really powerful, and I think someone can do it, and that's the bigger way that we do it. But like I
Yeah.
said, I mean, one of our favorite things to
Mm.
do is just sit on the couch with a cup of
Mm.
coffee before
Yeah.
the kids get up, or even at night, and just like, hey, what are you dreaming about? What are you thinking about? And
Wow.
it
So
costs you
sweet.
nothing other than time,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
it is the number one thing. Like, I'll go on a work trip or something and I'll come home, and until we have that moment where
Yeah.
it's like, oh,
Mm.
hi, how's it going?
Yeah.
It's like you can just tell just got to integrate back in or whatever. But once we get that, it's like, oh yeah, hi. What are you
Yeah.
working on? What are you dreaming on? What are you praying about? What's going on with the
Mm.
kids? And that way we just get some time to connect, and it gives us the strength to kind of go out and hit the day.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you for spelling that out for us and giving some different ideas. I'm really big into the date night idea, and you gave some ideas I don't do as much. And I feel like that gives our audience such a well-rounded, like, okay, I could grab that one from them because you guys have this beautiful energy where you can end of the night just be together or early morning be together. And I think that some of our listeners really could capitalize on that, and it makes me just get dreamy eyed too of, oh, that sounds so wonderful. So thank you for inviting us in. And I know your goal is to serve Christ too. I know that these rhythms help you to be able to do that. And so maybe you could tell us, just before we end, a little more about how when we get to that top of the mountain where we've really landed on wonder and slowed down rhythms and caring for our children and our spouse with intentionality and awe, where can we go with that? Do you think that as a seven, I think there is a place for that too. Um, where can we meet God? Is this something that our community see in us? Is this something that you've noticed? Oh my gosh, we seem to be better at our gifts because we have these restful rhythms.
Oh, definitely, for sure. I think that, there's a reason that faith is not one of the rhythms because
Yeah.
all of these rhythms are grounded in our faith with the Lord. They
Yes.
all
Jesus
stem
shows
from
that. Yes.
the foundational relationship that we have with Christ. That is what our marriage is set on. That is what we as humans are set on. That's what our family foundation is set on. So
Yeah.
all of these really stem from the example that we learn from Christ. It through his work, through his love towards us. He is
Yeah.
always speaking words of life over us. He is always
Mm.
present and slow with us, right?
Yes.
He is always ready to spark awe in us and restore that gratitude and joy that we
Yeah.
can have for the life that he's given us to live. So all of these rhythms really flow more effortlessly, I would say, when we are faithful to connect with Christ in the way that we want to. And whenever we are prioritizing those rhythms to stay
Yeah.
close to him, those rhythms that we want to create as a family just flow from that place.
Yeah. Yes. I love how you mentioned like these aren't just arbitrary. This is literally noticing how Jesus would go away to pray, for time
Yeah.
with his father, spend time with the disciples and all of this with this amazing ministry. And so I just hear you saying the fruits of what we can do once we take these times faithfully, when we allow Sabbath in our lives instead of pushing into an achiever culture. Um, I mean, I can see it. You guys have your beautiful books and your big family and your healthy marriage. I think we can all see that. Is there anything else that you want to share just as we prepare to hear more about the book and where we can find your beautiful ministry?
Yeah, I think the thing I would say is, obviously as a seven, you want to always turn it into a thing, a business. And I got an idea, we can do whatever.
Yeah.
But I think there's this interesting byproduct. Again, it's like you said, you talked about, it's about the ordinary, right? Like
Yeah.
understanding that the way it probably plays itself out when you're in rhythm, you're rolling together, your kids see it.
Yeah.
This is not like, I also just want to be really clear to everybody, like, we are humans. We, yes, I cannot believe the marriage and life that we have and the kids that we have. And it's such a gift and the works we get to do, but it's not always sunshine and rainbows,
Right.
but
Right.
it's been a really great, amazing ride with ups and downs, but just Jesus at the center. But I think one of the coolest byproducts of it is when you start to live it out. We talk about this in our books, and even, this idea that there are couples in everyone's life that you look at and go, wow, I
Mhm.
want what they have. Like there's something there. I want what
Yeah.
they have. And
Yeah.
so you're willing to listen to what they have to say. And I think the more you put the work in privately with Christ and with each other, and you follow these rhythms,
Mhm.
what the byproduct of that is, people in your community go, hey, I want what you have. And we're
Yes.
struggling over here. And could you help us in this? And
Yeah.
there's a level of vulnerability. And, we just get to point back to scriptures and to Jesus and to mentors we've had in our life and some of
Yeah.
the things we've done. But
Right. You're so
again,
good.
I'm not saying, yeah, we're the example of perfection. But what I am saying is that one of the coolest byproducts of being in rhythm is the opportunity to help other people get in rhythm and serve others. And that is something
Yes.
neat that happens when you put the work in for yourself and for your own marriage.
Mm, yes. Amen. I am so glad you shared that. That's the whole, overlapping theme of this podcast today, guys who are listening out here. This is it, that you get to do these rhythms because God loves you. He's not trying to make you run a rat race. But then on top of that, it allows others to see your life and want to be more like Christ themselves. So I love that you guys have that. I know you're richly sharing that in your community. And thank you for also taking care of you so that you can keep giving to us.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things, like, even we early on we had seasons where we didn't have a lot of like family units around us. It was us and the kids, and like it was kind of a, we either going to come at each other or we're going to lock arms
Mm,
with each other, and it helped us learn
yeah.
how to walk through hard things together.
Mm,
And that, again, one of the things we talk about, this idea of being in rhythm, is
yeah.
it's not you're on that side of the table, I'm on this side of the table, and we're going to try and figure out who's right. It's more
Yeah.
like, let's both get on the same side of the table, look at the middle of the table and go, hey, are we in rhythm or out of rhythm here? It's not
Mm,
your fault or my fault, but
yeah.
we're here. It's our scenario, and we got to figure out what it is and how do we get back in rhythm. And I think that's
Mm,
one of the coolest parts about this message. It's easier for people to understand. Like, hey, like, I'm not
mm,
trying to call you out. I'm just trying to say, are we out of rhythm here? And how do we get
yeah.
in rhythm? And I
Mm,
think everybody at the end of the day wants to be in rhythm with their spouse, with their kids, and their family.
yeah.
And so that's our hope and prayer when someone picks up these
Mm.
books.
Yeah, that's a beautiful desire. And I think you've made it very accessible. Can you guys tell us about what we can expect from the book and where we can find it? And you guys.
Yeah, I mean, the book is available wherever you like to get your books, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, all the places. And yeah, I think just like Chris said, our hope is that, when people pick up this book, I hope that they won't be able to get these rhythms out of their head. That
Mhm.
as they read, they'll start to think through their ordinary, normal life, and that these rhythms will just like a good song stick in their head, and then it'll start to flesh out in their life, and then
Yeah.
it will start to move them towards the life that they want to create for themselves, for their family. One of my favorite reviews we got of the book was one of our favorite authors, and he said that these five rhythms are like handles that people can grab onto that will pull them out of wherever they're stuck and help them move towards the future they long for. And that was just like he
Mm,
hit it on the head. That
yes.
is exactly our prayer, that these
Yes.
would be handles for people to grab onto, and that
Mhm.
as they trust the Lord to guide them, that he would lead them towards the future that he
Wow.
has for them.
Yeah.
My
So I mean, it's, you know, Rhythm of Us is the book about marriage. Rhythm of Home is a new one that just launched. These are all these around these five rhythms of a thriving marriage, thriving family, ultimately with Jesus at the center of it. And we're just hopeful that God will continue to move and change people's lives. You can find us at therhythmofus.com, therhythmhome.com, or you can find us on social media. Jenni basically lives on Instagram.
No, I don't.
Doesn't live on Instagram. I'm just saying if you want to find her,
That's
she's
the
not
only
Yeah.
she's not on
That's her.
Snapchat, you know?
No, I know
That's
that as a one. She's not there all the time, but
Yeah.
that's her home base.
for
Yes.
sure. That's where you
Oh,
can find her.
I
Yeah.
love it. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much for
Absolutely.
having
Thanks for
us.
being here.
This was a blast.
Yes. Thank you so much for just hanging out today. I'm so grateful that you spent time here because I know those life rhythms are very important, and I'm honored that you chose to spend it with me. So make sure you hang out tomorrow too, because that's when I'm going to be sharing on Instagram about the announcement. We're going to have a whole sizzling summer of contests and things relating to, like you said, maybe something to do with my book, which many of you have. But I am excited to get to walk you through even more around all that I hope to bring you for your marriage and all that Chris and Jenni today are bringing you. I thank them for that. And I hope you will also grab all their stuff in the show notes too. And I will talk to you soon. Bye bye.